Good evening, everyone. Time for this week's silver update. We are just now powering past 38. I've marked on the chart here a little strange aberration. May just be an aftermarket thing. It does appear to be some kind of artificial ceiling. These types of straight lines are very unnatural in markets. So it's a fairly unnatural price action, but we did, on the opening tonight in Asia, break out to the upside. We've got not too much more to come through. You can see our old high is here, 38. It's right about here. So we're not far from it. Our MACD is very nicely reset down here, the low. Ready for a run. Now, they could always yank the legs out from underneath it, but it looks like we're ready to run towards 40 would be my guess. That's what the last swing rule predicted. That's what I'm projecting is $40 on this run. So we'll see where we go. I wanted to show you a little video. I know I've shown some of you before, but as we approach these times with fake silver bars, and I know some people did some April Fool's videos about fake silver bars and things like that, but as we move forward, fake silver is going to become more and more an issue. Now, I've told you I've bought a lot of Perth Mint products lately, and that may be more difficult to test in this way. But if you're one of those who's purchased Silver Eagles, and I've always recommended coins over bars for a lot of reasons I won't go into here, but if you do have the coins, there's this handy dandy detector. I don't know if there's a Silver Eagle one. I think there is. This is actually for old US silver, but it's a video on the Fisch detector, and the way this detector works is based upon the atomic weight of silver. A certain coin, and they give you the indication here of the type of coin. These are made specifically for each individual coin because they have a specific circumference and they have a specific thickness and a specific size, etc. So they're at an exact size. To counterfeit them, the only way you could would be to use silver to have these things all match, and then what would be the point? If you use something else, the atomic weight isn't going to match, and it's either going to be larger or smaller or thicker or thinner, or it's not going to balance. So I'll let this play. So you get your coin here and identify what coin you're looking at. Then they have a no-go slot. So you're going to drop the coin down through this no-go slot. If it passes through it, that means it's too thin and it's not the real thing. So it failed that, and then it went through the go slot. So that's a good test of thickness and diameter. And then it needs to fit in this circular spot. And then when it does, it will perfectly balance this detector. So there's only certain ways to get around the problem of, in the case of silver, I believe the metal would be molybdenum, which is not the same atomic weight. So that's the Fisch detector. It's a handy dandy little plastic tool. You can take it with you if you're going to coin shows. This is going to, I predict this company, if you can buy stock in them, buy stock in them, because this is going to go big in the future, and I predict there'll be one for all the major bullion coin. They'll eventually, I'm sure they will have one for all the Perth coins. They'll have one for the Canadian Maple Leaf. They'll have one for the, of course, the Eagle, which I believe they already have, and the Philharmonic and all the rest. So yes, you may have to carry 5 or 10 of these, but you're going to know in seconds whether the coin is legit or not. So that's a great tool that they've come up with. Wanted to move to an article that is on SilverSeek, a nice fundamental analysis that was posted on the 1st of April about, it's the GFMS report. It comes from the Silver Institute, and I don't really trust the Silver Institute, but most of their numbers are pretty much accurate. So I wanted to highlight a few things in this report. Much of the growth in the global total of industrial silver consumption will be driven by stronger demand for a number of established uses, including the manufacture of electrical contacts and the use of silver in the photovoltaic industry. New uses on silver's antibacterial quality, new uses of its conductive properties, including solid-state lighting and RFID tags, overall, etc. But I wanted to look at some of these uses here. Now you tell me if this is a future-looking commodity. It's used in cell phones, computers, thick film, which is a film that can't go away for high quality, automobiles, so that's total electrical demand. Now it's rising now in its use in solar power, RFID tags, water purification, and medical applications. And soon there is coming nano silver technology. Now you tell me, is this future growth? I mean, this is like a half technologist, half survivalist dream here of the stuff that silver is growing in use. Now, he points out silver is consumed. With photographic use, it was reclaimed, but that's shrinking. And now it's not a big part of recycling. But also, monetary demand is rising. HSBC, the world's largest bullion dealer in both gold and silver, is confirming that silver's role as a monetary metal is gathering the most momentum, particularly in emerging economies. They say that the macroeconomic trends from emerging markets are positive for both gold and silver. They put the growing Chinese middle classes, now well over 400 million people of the 1.3 billion Chinese citizens, as fueling an explosive growth in demand for silver as a hedge against fast rising inflation. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, the world's largest bank by market value, agrees. ICBC sold 13 tons, that's 418,000 ounces of physical silver to Chinese citizens in January alone. Now you remember, we had record Silver Eagle sales in this country in January alone. Absolutely astounding numbers coming out of the Silver Eagles. Now look at this. For the whole of 2010, they sold 1 million ounces. And for the first month of this year, they sold nearly half that. So the Chinese, the 400 million middle-class Chinese, are getting on the silver bandwagon, as the Americans are, and all the way around the world. We have seen China turn from an exporter of silver to a huge importer in the last 3 years, and that's just the start. China was a net importer of over 100 million ounces of silver last year, whereas it was selling official holdings of silver only a few years ago. It was exporting an equal amount annually. China's ravenous new demand for silver as a store of value in inflationary times is growing exponentially. This is illustrated by the fact that silver imports last year increased fourfold. Fourfold. China, this is a permanent change, in my opinion. In the future, China will never export silver again, except in manufactured things, but they will be a net importer of silver for the foreseeable future. Supply. While we don't yet have the numbers for supply of silver in 2010, we do not expect them to have risen more than 10% over the 2009 levels. With 70% of silver mined as a byproduct of base metal mining, there is a danger of demand outstripping supply. The present sources of byproduct silver are operating at peak capacity. Pure silver mine producers like Silver Wheaton are growing but unlikely to be able to fill the gap. Mines like Coeur d'Alene, which is becoming 50% gold and 50% silver producer, have a considerable capacity for growth and will do so, but again, with demand burgeoning on both the investment and industrial side, supply will find it difficult to meet demand. We do foresee rising scrap sales from the developed world where the sight of a profit on jewelry, etc., can prove too tempting to the individual, but we cannot see this being more than 10 to 20% more than in 2009. In the emerging world, such a concept is basically foreign to them because both silver and gold represent financial security to investors there. We believe, if history is a guide, that it will take at least another generation, 25 years, of wealth and stability in the emerging world for this attitude to change. So, the emerging world, who have been through many more booms and busts than we have a lot less trust of paper money than we do. So, we're seeing the growth in demand, not a very large growth in supply. We're shaping up for an explosive silver price going forward. I think to some 38 looks expensive, but in reality $38 for an ounce of silver is dirt cheap. I think we're going to make 40 on this move, on our way to 50. Jimmy Rogers says that we're definitely going into new all-time highs. That's above 50, but I think any reasonable person would admit that it has to be inflation adjusted highs, and that's roughly 120 to 130. So we're pretty much, in my opinion, going to go to triple digits without a real, we may get a 40% correction, I'm guessing around 50 maybe, $50, but then quite rapidly I think we're going to move to 3 digits on silver, and I don't see any reasons, I can't see any reasons why it shouldn't move there fairly rapidly, and it appears the chart is confirming that. So we'll see what happens next week. We're looking for 40. Hopefully we'll get that sometime next week, and we'll talk to you next time.